So for this demo, we are going to learn how to print our radial symmetry design onto styrofoam to make this quilt square.
For your printing plate, you have two different size grid papers to choose from. This is the 1-inch grid paper or the 1/2 inch grid paper if you want to have a more detailed design. That's what I'm going to use for this demo video. So once you have your paper, you're going to get your styrofoam printing plate and trace it somewhere on your grid paper. Okay. The paper is front and back, so you have the option to make two different practice designs before you decide which one is going to be your final. So I'm going to trace it one more time. Okay. And then I'm going to number my squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. I'm putting the numbers right on the line because in order to make our mandala mathematically correct, we want any line that starts at 5 over here to end at 5 over here. When we print that 4 times in a radial design, those lines are going to stay connected. So for example, if I wanted to do a wavy line, I'll switch to Sharpie so you can see better, that starts at 3, I'm going to make sure that it also ends at 3. Using your grid paper, you can create any kind of design that you want for your mandala. Let's see, so 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, with as much or as little detail as you want. You also have the option of using a ruler if you want your lines to be exact. Okay. 9, 10, 11, 12. I measured this grid paper and it's supposed to be 1/2 inch. It's not exact, so you might have an extra square to work with, which is fine. But I'm just going to make a really quick design, not with a lot of detail, just because I want to show you guys the next step. So hopefully you take more time researching and making a mandala design that you are proud of. Okay. Option 1, you could also make an option 2 on the back. Once you have your design and you've decided that's the one you want to use, you're going to cut it out and trace it onto a printing plate. The first thing I'm going to do with my styrofoam printing plate is very extremely important. I'm going to write my name gently on the back, and then I'm going to put an arrow where the center of my plate is going to be. That way as I print it, I'm going to rotate around that arrow, which you will see later in the video. It's very important. So this is going to be the center of my design. Okay, flip it over. And now I'm going to lay my grid paper on top and there's a couple tools that you can use. You can use a ballpoint pen, you can use a pencil, or you can use a scratch tool. Those things are going to be in your 4th grade basket. But using that, I'm going to trace over my design and start to imprint it into my plate. So I'm pushing down hard, but I'm also not pushing down so hard that I'll rip a hole in my paper. Okay. Now when you look at your styrofoam plate carefully, you should be able to see those indentions, but it's not quite ready for printing yet because these indentions are very shallow. They need to be deeper in order to get a good print. So I'm going to go back with my ballpoint pen, the tool that I chose, and I'm going to go over each of those lines that I can see just a few more times to really indent them into my plate. I want there to be a clear mark, but I don't want any holes in my printing plate. If you do get a hole, it's not a big deal. It'll still work. Okay, I'll bring my ruler back out to finish this line. Okay, and once you finish printing all of your lines in your plate, then you are ready to move on to step 2, which is going to be to print make.
All right, now we're on to actually how to print this onto this to get this. How do we do it? Okay, every table is going to have a printing tray. Every table is going to have brayers. I'm going to come around and give you our printing ink, which is by Speedball. It's the best. And then once you have rolled your ink out, much like a painter puts paint into a paint tray to paint a wall, you are then going to take that brayer and ink your plate. It's really important you do a good job of making sure you got all 4 corners really good, okay? Set it down into the tray. Okay, now, here's where the fun part gets. On the back of your styrofoam plate, it's really important that you have which place, or the center place of your printing thing has a little arrow. The little arrow is going to indicate where you always need to put, it needs to be pointing to the center, okay? So, one more time since I just flipped that over, set it down. Okay, here's my paper. And let's just pretend oh, wait a minute. That is always supposed to be pointing to the center because that's the way my design goes. So I line it up in the corner, press down with my finger. Now I'm gonna take a brayer that has no ink on it and gently roll and hold with my finger to transfer the design onto the paper. We're gonna peel it back. And there's the first design. Okay, set it down, re-ink your brayer, re-ink your printing plate, set it back down on the thing, flip it over. Where's that arrow? Oh, there it is. I gotta turn it. Make sure it's pointing to the center. Very important. Line it up, lay it down, take the one that has no ink on it. Peel it back. There's my second print. And of course you're going to need to do this a couple more times. 4 times to be exact, 4 times. Take it, find the arrow, place it in the center, line it up, press it down, roll the one that has no ink on it on the back. Voila, almost there, one more left. Roll, 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 set it down, line up my arrow, place it in the center. Put it there and press and hold. Yes, you're going to get ink on your hands. Not a big deal. Just don't rub it on your clothes. We will wash them at the end. Always feel free to wear a paint shirt if you're that worried about it. And pull it back. And voila! I have my first radial symmetry square.